The voicemail from myself. I received the first voicemail on a Monday morning while I was in a meeting. My phone buzzed silently in my pocket, and when I checked it during the break, I had one new message. The caller ID showed my own number. That should have been my first warning, but I assumed it was a glitch, some technical error with the phone system. Maybe I'd pocket-dialed myself somehow. It happened, right? I stepped into the hallway and played the message. It was my voice, definitely my voice, but the words made my stomach drop. Jake, this is you, this is me. This is us from. There was a pause, the sound of heavy breathing. I don't have much time, you need to listen very carefully. In 3 days on Thursday at 2:47 p.m., do not answer your phone, no matter who's calling, no matter what the caller ID says. If you answer that call, everything changes. Everything goes wrong. I'm trying to fix it, but I need you to trust me. Do not answer the phone on Thursday at 2:47 p.m. The message ended. I stood there in the empty hallway, my hand shaking slightly as I lowered the phone. A prank had to be. Someone had used AI to clone my voice, was messing with me. Except the voice hadn't just sounded like me, it had the same slight hesitation I get when I'm nervous, the same way I clear my throat, even the same background noise as my apartment. The echo that comes from my bathroom when I take calls there because the bedroom has better reception. I saved the message and went back to my meeting, but I couldn't focus. The words kept replaying in my mind. Everything changes, everything goes wrong. That night, I listened to the message probably 20 times, analyzing every detail. The background sounds, the breathing pattern, the specific phrasing. It was me. I knew my own voice, my own speech patterns. This wasn't an AI clone or an impressionist. This was actually me somehow calling myself from the future, another timeline. You're losing it, I told my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Stress from work, too many late nights, you're hearing things. But I knew what I'd heard, and some deep primal part of me believed it. Tuesday morning, I received another voicemail. Same caller ID, my own number. This time I was ready, phone in hand, but it went straight to voicemail without ringing, like the call was being redirected, bypassing the normal system. Jake, me again, day 2. You're probably thinking this is impossible, that you're going crazy. You're not, this is real. I'm you from 6 days in the future. Well, it's complicated. Time isn't linear when you're doing this. Listen, I need to tell you more. The call that comes on Thursday at 2:47, it's going to be from a number you don't recognize. But the voice on the other end will sound urgent, like an emergency. It's not, it's a trap. Not a trap exactly, but a catalyst. The moment that starts everything spiraling. If you answer, you'll learn something you're not supposed to know yet. Something that changes every decision you make afterward. And those changes, those ripples, they lead to static. The message cut off abruptly, replaced by a high-pitched whine that made me jerk the phone away from my ear. When the static cleared, there was just heavy breathing and then, they're listening, I have to go. Thursday, 2:47 p.m. Don't answer. This is the only way to stop it. I sat on my couch for an hour after that, just staring at my phone. Who was listening? Stop what? And how the hell was I calling myself from the future? I did what any rational person would do. I tried to replicate it. Called my own number to see if it would somehow loop back, create a voicemail paradox. Nothing. Just went to my voicemail like normal, where I heard my own outgoing message and then the beep. I didn't leave a message. What would I even say? Wednesday morning, third voicemail. I was expecting it this time, had barely slept, was watching my phone like it might explode. It didn't ring, just suddenly showed a new voicemail notification at 3:33 a.m. Jake, tomorrow's the day. I'm running out of time to explain everything, and honestly, I don't fully understand it myself. But here's what I know. When you answer that call tomorrow at 2:47, you're going to hear something about Dad, something about the accident, something that makes you question everything we've believed for the past 10 years. My breath caught. My father had died in a car accident when I was 19. 10 years ago, almost to the day. And that information, that seed of doubt, it makes you start investigating. Makes you dig into records, ask questions, confront people, and what you find out destroys you, destroys us. I can't tell you what it is because then you'll investigate anyway. That's just how we are, obsessive, can't let things go. But if you never get that initial call, never hear that first piece of information, then none of the rest happens. The investigation never starts. You stay in the dark. And trust me, Jake, the dark is better. Some truths aren't worth knowing. There was a long pause, then one more thing. After you get through Thursday without answering, you're going to receive more calls. From me, from other versions, I don't know, ignore them. This is the last message you should listen to. After this, delete everything. Change your number if you have to, break the loop. Because if you keep listening, if you keep engaging with this, you'll want to understand how it works. You'll start trying to call yourself, trying to replicate what I did. And that's when it gets really bad. That's when the timeline starts fracturing. Multiple versions of us, all trying to fix different things, all sending messages back, all creating more problems than we solve. Another pause. When my voice came back, it was quieter, almost defeated. I've been stuck in this loop for what feels like months, Jake, trying to send the right message, say the right thing, prevent the right moment. But every time I change something, 10 other things go wrong. This is my last attempt, my last message. Tomorrow at 2:47, don't answer the phone. And after that, forget this ever happened. Live your life in ignorant peace. It's better than the alternative. The message ended. I didn't go to work on Thursday, called in sick. Couldn't face sitting in that office, watching the clock tick toward 2:47, wondering if a phone call would really change everything. I spent the morning researching time loops, causal paradoxes, temporal mechanics. Most of it was science fiction or theoretical physics beyond my understanding. But one article stuck with me, something about how information from the future could create a bootstrap paradox where the effect becomes its own cause. If future me told present me not to answer a call and present me didn't answer, then future me would never have experienced whatever made him need to send the warning, which meant the warning would never be sent. Which meant present me would answer the call, which meant my head hurt. I stopped reading. At 2:30 p.m. I turned my phone off, completely off, not airplane mode, not silent, off. I sat on my couch and watched my wall clock tick. 2:35, 2:40, 2:45. 2:47. Nothing happened. Obviously, my phone was off. I sat there for another 5 minutes, then 10, then 15. At 3:05, I turned my phone back on. 12 missed calls, all from the same unknown number, no voicemails. I stared at those missed call notifications. Whatever had been on the other end of that call, whatever information would have changed everything, it had tried 12 times to reach me in those 18 minutes. I didn't call back, didn't even look up the number. I blocked it, deleted the notifications, and tried to go about my evening as if nothing had happened. But at 11:47 p.m., I received another voicemail from myself. You did it, you didn't answer. Thank God, Jake, you actually listened. I'm so relieved. You have no idea what you prevented, what we prevented. The timeline is different now. Better, you're going to live a good life, a normal life. No investigations, no dark truths, no spiraling obsession that destroys everything. A pause, then quieter, but I have to tell you something. Now that you've broken the loop, now that you've created this new timeline, I don't exist anymore, not this version of me. The me that experienced all the bad things, that learned how to send messages back, that spent months trying to fix everything. That version is being erased, overwritten by the new timeline where you didn't answer, where you stayed ignorant, where you stayed sane. I could hear emotion in my future self's voice now, fear, sadness. I just wanted you to know that I'm glad, even if it means I stop existing. Even if all those memories, all that suffering, all that knowledge just disappears, it was worth it to save you, to save us, to give us a chance at a normal life. Another pause. This is really the last message. After this, the timeline solidifies. The loop closes. You won't hear from me again. Live well, Jake. Make better choices than I did. And whatever you do, don't ever try to figure out how I did this. Don't try to send messages back. Don't try to fix other mistakes. Just live forward, only forward. The message ended. I sat in the dark of my apartment, phone clutched in my hand, and realized I was crying. Mourning a version of myself that might have never existed, or was being erased from existence, or was trapped in some quantum state between being and not being. Friday morning, no voicemail. Friday night, nothing. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, a week passed, then 2, then a month. No more messages from myself. The timeline had solidified, apparently. I was living in the good version now, the one where I didn't answer that call, didn't learn that terrible truth about my father, didn't spiral into obsessive investigation. Life went on, work, dates, friends, normal mundane existence. I should have been grateful. Future me had sacrificed himself to give me this peaceful, ignorant life. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, about what I might have learned if I'd answered. About what truth was so terrible that an alternate version of myself had experienced months of temporal hell to prevent me from discovering it. What had really happened to my father? I started small, just looking through old news articles about the accident. Nothing unusual. Rainy night, sharp turn, car left the road, tragic but straightforward. But then I noticed something. The police report had an addendum filed 3 days after the accident, a witness statement that had been added later. I'd never seen it before because I'd never really looked at the full file. I'd been 19 and devastated, had let my mother handle all the official details. The witness statement described another car at the scene. A black sedan that had been following my father's car closely, that might have been involved in forcing him off the road. But the witness wasn't certain, couldn't identify the vehicle, and the police had found no evidence of another car's involvement. It was probably nothing, but I kept digging, found my father's phone records from that month. He'd been getting calls from an unknown number in the days before the accident. Multiple calls, some lasting over an hour. I traced the number. It belonged to a private investigator. My father had hired a PI 2 weeks before he died. Why? To investigate what? The PI's office was still in business. I called, asked about my father's case. They couldn't discuss it, client confidentiality, even though the client was deceased. I pushed. Eventually got transferred to the investigator himself, a man named Ray Garrett who'd been doing this work for 30 years. Your father, Ray said carefully, was looking into something dangerous. I advised him to stop. I offered to return his retainer. He refused, said he needed to know the truth no matter what. Truth about what? I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that 3 days before his accident, I closed the case, sent him my final report, and I told him that some doors, once opened, can't be closed. Do you think his death was an accident? Long pause. I think your father learned something he shouldn't have, and I think that information got him killed, and I think you should stop asking questions and live your life. I hung up, sat in my car in the parking lot of my apartment building, hands shaking. This was it. This was the moment, the fork in the road. I could stop here, take future me's advice, stay ignorant, live in peace. Or I could keep digging, learn the truth, follow the path that future me had tried so desperately to prevent me from walking. My phone rang. Unknown number, not the same one from Thursday, but close, 1 digit different. I stared at it, ringing, offering me that choice. I answered. Jake Torres, a woman's voice, professional, cold. Yes. My name is Agent Catherine Reeves. I'm with a federal task force investigating corruption in the defense industry. Your father stumbled onto something before he died, something we've been tracking for years. We need to talk." And just like that, I was on the path. The investigation had begun. The obsession had started. Future me had failed to stop it, or maybe he'd succeeded for a while, but I'd chosen to walk this road anyway. Over the next 6 weeks, I learned the truth. My father had been an accountant for a defense contractor. He'd found evidence of massive fraud, embezzlement, bribes to government officials, billions of dollars, connections to organized crime. He'd been gathering evidence to blow the whistle when his car went off that road. It wasn't an accident. The black sedan the witness had seen was real. My father had been murdered to keep him quiet. And now I knew, and that knowledge changed everything, just like future me had warned. I couldn't go to work and pretend nothing was wrong. Couldn't sit in meetings about quarterly reports when I knew my father had been killed over a report of his own. I became obsessed, paranoid, started seeing connections everywhere, wondering if I was being watched, followed, if I'd be the next accident. The federal investigation went nowhere, not enough evidence. Key witnesses recanted. The defense contractor had too many powerful friends. The case was quietly closed. But I couldn't let it go. Spent my savings hearing lawyers, private investigators, anyone who might help. Lost my job. Lost friends who thought I was losing my mind. Lost my girlfriend who couldn't handle the paranoia and the late-night rants about conspiracy and cover-ups. 6 months after answering that call from Agent Reeves, I was broke, alone, and no closer to justice for my father. That's when I received the voicemail from myself, from a version of me that had lived through all of this before and was trying to warn past me not to make the same mistakes. The loop had begun again. I listened to the message 3 times, heard my own voice, older, more tired, explaining how I needed to not answer a call on Thursday at 2:47 p.m., how that call would start everything, how the investigation would destroy me. And I understood. I was the future me now. I was the one who needed to send the warnings back, to try to save my past self from this path. But how had I done it? How had I called myself in the past? I spent weeks researching quantum mechanics, closed time-like curves, tachyonic antitelephones. Most of it was theoretical, impossible with current technology, but there were experiments. Fringe scientists working on temporal communication, message compression into quantum states that could theoretically propagate backward through time. I found one. Dr. Elizabeth Marsh, a physicist who'd been laughed out of academia for her theories about information transfer across temporal boundaries. She was working out of a basement lab funded by her own savings and a few eccentric donors. "It's possible," she told me when I explained what I wanted to do. "In theory, send a message backward, target a specific point in time, but it's never been successfully tested, and the energy requirements are significant, not to mention the potential paradoxes." "I don't care about paradoxes," I said. "I need to warn myself, save myself from making the mistakes I made." Dr. Marsh studied me. "Why not just call yourself, tell your past self directly?" "Time doesn't work that way. I can't call myself in the past using normal methods. The phones are linked to specific moments in time, but a message that travels backward through quantum channels that targets a specific temporal coordinate, that might work." She agreed to help, said she'd been waiting for someone desperate enough to actually try the experiment. It took 3 months to set up. Quantum entanglement chambers, temporal targeting systems that I barely understood, message compression algorithms that would encode my voice into quantum states. We ran the first test on a Monday. I recorded my message, warning past me about the call on Thursday, about not answering, about how everything would spiral. Dr. Marsh initiated the transmission. The equipment hummed, whined, created a sound like reality was being stretched thin. Did it work? I asked when the sound stopped. Unknown. If it worked, you'd already know. The timeline would have changed. You wouldn't remember this version of events. But I do remember. Then either it didn't work or you're protected from timeline changes because you're at the transmission point, a temporal anchor point, in theory. We tried again and again. I sent dozens of messages back, targeting different dates, trying different warnings, adjusting the phrasing. Nothing seemed to change. I still remembered everything. The investigation, the losses, the obsession. Maybe you can't change the past, Dr. Marsh suggested after the 20th attempt. Maybe timeline is fixed. Maybe all you're doing is creating branches, alternate versions of yourself who receive the warnings and make different choices. So somewhere there's a version of me who didn't answer that call, who lived a normal life. If the theory holds, yes, but you'll never meet him. You're stuck in this timeline. The one where you answered, investigated, and ended up here trying to send warnings that can't change your own past. That was 6 months ago. I'm still sending messages, still trying different approaches, different warnings, different temporal coordinates. The equipment is more refined now. Dr. Marsh thinks we've successfully transmitted at least a dozen messages backward. And maybe we have. Maybe there are a dozen versions of me out there who got the warnings, who didn't answer the call, who lived peaceful, ignorant lives while I remain trapped in this timeline, obsessively trying to save variations of myself that I'll never meet. Or maybe it's all delusion. Maybe the equipment doesn't work. Maybe I'm just a broke, paranoid former paralegal talking into a machine that does nothing but make expensive humming sounds and give me false hope. But I keep trying, because what else can I do? I'm already lost, already too far down this path. But if I can save even one version of myself, one alternate Jake Torres who gets to stay ignorant about his father's murder, who gets to keep his job and his girlfriend and his sanity, then maybe this whole nightmare is worth it. I recorded another message this morning. Same warning. Don't answer the phone on Thursday at 2:47 p.m. I've sent variations of this message probably 50 times now, each one slightly different, trying to find the exact phrasing that will convince past me to listen. Dr. Marsh initiated the transmission 20 minutes ago. The equipment is still humming. My phone just buzzed. One new voicemail from my own number. I'm afraid to listen to it, afraid of what it might mean. If I receive a voicemail from myself, does that mean I eventually figure out how to send them? Does it mean I'm successful, that the loop continues? Or does it mean something worse? That I'm trapped in a cycle, eternally warning myself, eternally investigating, eternally trying to fix something that can't be fixed. I play the message. It's my voice, but older, much older, exhausted beyond measure. Jake, I don't know which iteration you are, which loop you're in, how many times you've lived through this, but listen, stop trying to change the past, stop sending messages, stop trying to save alternate versions of yourself. You can't. I've been doing this for 37 years. 37 years of sending warnings, trying different approaches, attempting to break the loop. It doesn't work. The timeline that matters, the one where you answered that call, learned the truth, started investigating, that timeline is fixed. That's us, that's our path. And we can't change it. Pause, heavy breathing. But here's what I learned. Here's what took me 3 decades to understand. The loop isn't a trap, it's a purpose. Every time we send a message back, we create a branch, an alternate timeline where another version of us gets the warning and makes a different choice. We'll never meet those versions, we'll never know if they're happier, but they exist, thousands of them now. Thousands of Jake Torres living in peaceful ignorance because versions of us, versions trapped in this investigation loop, kept sending warnings. Another pause. When my voice returns, it's softer. So keep sending the messages. Keep trying to save past versions of yourself, not because it will change our timeline, it won't. but because it creates new timelines where other versions of us get to be happy. That's our purpose now, not to escape the loop, but to make the loop meaningful, to use our suffering to prevent suffering in alternate realities. And Jake, eventually you'll get tired. Eventually you'll want to stop. When that happens, remember this message. Remember that somewhere in some timeline there's a version of us who didn't answer that call, who lived a normal life, who fell in love, had kids, grew old in peace. That version exists because we suffered, because we're trapped in this loop eternally trying to save him. And that's enough. That has to be enough. The message ends. I sit in Dr. Marsh's basement lab, surrounded by quantum equipment and temporal targeting systems, and realize I'm crying. Not from sadness, from relief. I'm not trying to escape anymore. I'm not trying to change my own past. I'm just trying to save alternate versions of myself. And if that's all this loop is, an eternal sacrifice to give other versions of me a chance at happiness, then I can accept it. I can keep sending the messages. I record a new one, clean, simple, direct. Jake, this is you from the future. Don't answer the phone on Thursday at 2:47 p.m., trust me. Dr. Marsh looks at me questioningly. Another attempt. Another timeline, I correct her. Another Jake Torres who deserves better than this. She nods and initiates the transmission. The equipment hums, reality stretches thin, and somewhere, sometime, a version of me receives a warning that will save him from the path I walked. It's enough. It has to be. Because I'm the version that answered, the version that investigated, the version that learned the terrible truth and paid the price. I'm the temporal anchor point, the version trapped in the loop so that others don't have to be. And I'll keep sending warnings backward until I'm as old as that final message suggested, 37 years from now, still trying, still hopping, still creating branches in reality where alternate versions of Jake Torres get to live in peaceful ignorance. My phone buzzes again. Another voicemail from myself. I don't need to listen, I know what it says. The same thing all the messages say. Warning, advice, desperate attempts to change what can't be changed. But I listen anyway. Because maybe this time it's different. Maybe this time it's from a version of me who found a way out, who broke the loop, who discovered some variable we haven't tried yet. Jake, my voice says, stop sending the messages. My heart skips. Not because they don't work, they do, but because I found something that all the other versions missed. The reason we're stuck in this loop isn't because we can't change the past. It's because we keep trying to. Every message we send backward creates our own past, creates the voicemail that past us receives, which prompts past us to eventually send more messages, which creates those voicemails. We're not warning our past selves. We're creating the warnings that past us already received. It's a bootstrap paradox. The effect is its own cause. I feel dizzy. That can't be right, can it? If we stop sending messages, future me continues, the loop breaks. Past versions of us never receive warnings. They answer the call on Thursday, they investigate, they suffer, but they don't end up here in this basement sending messages backward. They don't create the loop, it ends with us. But that means, I whisper to the empty lab. It means all those alternate timelines we thought we were creating, they're just the normal timeline, the one where we don't receive warnings, the one where we answer the call and learn the truth and suffer the consequences, and then eventually move on, get therapy, rebuild our lives, become functioning humans again instead of temporal anchors trapped in a basement lab. I sink into a chair. We can't save our past by sending warnings, future me says. We can only trap ourselves in an eternal loop of trying. The only way forward is to stop, let the loop end, let past versions of us suffer and recover naturally. Let future versions live in a reality where they don't receive impossible voicemails from themselves. The message ends with, "This is the last one I'm sending. After this, I'm walking away from the lab, getting therapy, rebuilding my life, 40 years old, broke and alone, but free from the loop. I suggest you do the same. Let it end with us, Jake. Let it finally end. I sit in silence for a long time. Dr. Marsh has left for the night. The lab is empty except for me and the humming equipment. I look at the recording interface, at the temporal targeting system, at the quantum chambers that supposedly send messages backward through time. What if future me is right? What if every message I've sent has just created the voicemails that past me received, creating the loop that trapped me here? What if the only way to break free is to stop? But then, all those versions of myself that I thought I was saving, they don't exist. There's only one timeline, one Jake Torres, and he's sitting here in this basement, alone, broke, obsessed, trapped by his own attempts to escape. I should stop, walk away, get help, rebuild my life. But what if future me is wrong? What if the messages do create alternate timelines? What if stopping means condemning future versions of myself to suffer without warning? I don't know, can't know. That's the hell of time loops. You can never be certain what's real, what's working, what's just delusion wrapped in quantum mechanics and false hope. My hand hovers over the recording button. Do I send one more message, or do I walk away? The equipment hums, waiting for my decision. And somewhere, sometime, another version of me faces the same choice. Maybe we all do eventually. Maybe that's the real loop, not the messages, not the warnings, not the temporal mechanics. Just the eternal human need to fix our mistakes, save our past selves, change what's already happened. And the slow, painful realization that some choices, once made, can't be unmade. Even with all the time in the world. I press record. Jake, this is you. Don't answer the phone on Thursday at. I stop, delete the recording. Start again. Jake, the voicemails you're receiving, I sent them. I've been trapped in this loop for years trying to warn past versions of myself, but I'm stopping now, I'm letting it end. Whatever happens to you on Thursday, whatever you learn, whatever you lose, you'll survive it. You'll recover. Don't end up like me, trapped in a basement, obsessed with changing the unchangeable. Just live through it, come out the other side, be stronger than I was. I pause, then add, this is the last message. After this, the loop ends. Good luck, we're going to need it. I send the transmission. The equipment hums one final time. Then I power it down, pack up my research, leave Dr. Marsh a note thanking her for her time. And I walk out of that basement lab into the cool night air, feeling lighter than I have in months. The loop is over. Or it's just beginning. I'll never know which. But I'm done trying to change the past. Time to start living in the present. Whatever that means for a man who's spent years in conversation with himself across temporal boundaries. My phone doesn't buzz. No new voicemails. Just silence. And somehow, that's more terrifying than all the warnings combined.